So, hi everyone, I'm Angad. So, we're going to be starting with this webinar soon as some people join. And you just stay tuned and let me know all of the things that you hope to learn from this webinar, just so I can model it for your use case. And if it's also use case for all of your fellow members, then it's good for us. So, we're going to be starting right. And guys, post all of your queries over here. So eventually in between, I'll be taking a break for 1 minute, reading on chats, and then if you guys have any doubts, then we'll be talking about that also. So just let me know if you are able to hear my voice clearly or if there's some disruption in the environment or something like that. If there's some noise which is troubling you, just let me know. So the purpose of this webinar was that we conducted a hack insider, as you might know, a hackathon, internal hackathon for CodeChef, and then we had a backend API up and running, and a lot of you people were facing problems with actually consuming all of those APIs. So I got a message from a lot of people saying, I don't know, Bhaiya, I don't know how to consume this API. I don't know how to make a call to this. So a lot of you were facing the same problem. So we thought we'll just conduct a webinar, and then because this thing is quite basic, and this thing like every front-end developer should know this, and in fact every back-end developer should also know this. But yeah, okay. So my volume is here. Okay, fine. So after this webinar, the aim is that you guys are not scared of APIs anymore, and then you're not confused where to start. And basically, that is the aim of this whole webinar. So we're gonna let some more people join before we start. So guys, anything that you want to learn, so drop it in the comment section. And in between, if you're facing any issues or like if there is any network latency, just drop in a message so that I can know that okay, I'm facing some troubles with my stream. And if you're leaving, just drop in a quick feedback of if the webinar helped you or not or something like that. You can be completely frank. Okay guys, so let me know if you can see the screen or not. I'm quickly gonna pop open your terminal. So let me know if you can see the screen clearly. If it's up to the size or not. Or should I zoom my editor a bit? The screen. So whatever I type over here, you should be able to see it clearly. So my environment, again, I'm using Ubuntu 16.04. And yeah, so it's a Ubuntu shell. But the thing is, you don't need to have an Ubuntu or Mac for following this tutorial. This will work across all devices, all operating systems. And I'm using Visual Studio Code over here. So if you're a front-end developer, then Visual Studio Code is probably the best editor I came across. I used Atom for about a year, but I found Visual Studio Code to be quite intuitive. Right now I'm using Vim, but I do a lot of backend dev, not that much of front-end dev. So yeah, if you want to do front-end dev, you will be fine with VS Code. Even with backend dev, backend dev, if you have the right plugin installed, you'll be fine. So in VS Code, you go over here, any plugin that you might want to install. So let's say some lint plugin, SAS lint or Python lint, you can search over here. And the thing about the latest version of Visual Studio Code is that you don't need to reload once you install a plugin. So earlier what we used to do was we used to install a plugin and then we had to restart the editor all over again. You no longer need to do that. So Visual Studio Code has quite a nice contribution thing going. And just a few keyboard shortcuts. So this is probably going to be the most important one that we're going to use. do a control plus tilde. So tilde is the key before, like beneath your escape key. So control plus tilde is going to bring up your terminal, and if you press it again, it's going to shut it down. Not shut it down, it's going to put it in the background. So if you want to exit your shell, you can simply do exit, or you can click this delete button over here. So I'm not expecting everyone to follow along with this tutorial. You just see, and then when you're coding later, you refer to this video, and then you can follow along. So okay, so a lot of people are joining, and okay, so we're just gonna wait for another 5 minutes. Let's wait for another 2. So yeah, the goal of this webinar, I want to remind you guys all over again. So the goal of this webinar is linking back into the front end and basically getting a hold of how not to write the boilerplate code that we always write when we need to do front end dev or things like that. So we're gonna be trying to avoid. We're gonna try to avoid that. And yeah. Okay, so wait. I'm gonna remove my HDMI here for a second. Yeah, cool. So I hope you can see my Visual Studio Code screen over here. Can you? I hope you can. Left side of VS Code is not seen. Okay, Akshay, is it clear now? Can you see the whole editor? I want to get all of this configuration done before we start the webinar, because in between, if we stop it, then it's going to be a loss of momentum. Okay. So as soon as we get a report from Akshay to see if VS Code, if he can see VS Code clearly or not, we're going to begin. Every one of you can see this screen in VS Code, right? The one where the files go. So there's no file here right now. Okay, I'm just assuming you can. So we're going to be starting with this webinar now. So like, as I said earlier, a lot of you face some problems while connecting back into the front end. So to get a clear view of what exactly we're dealing with here, so we're going to be looking at the anatomy of backend and a front end, right? The high level anatomy. So there you have a backend. So backend contains all of your code, and all of your code is exposed using endpoints. So and these endpoints are exposed using APIs. So API means application programming interface, which means that any external service can call your backend code using the API layer that you have in your backend. And this is your front end. This is anything that you might write like CSS, JavaScript, HTML. So this is your front end. So what happens is a lot of you people have these static front ends running where you have web pages. But if you want dynamic front end, you need to call the backend and get things done. So what happens when you do that is this. So when you make a request to the backend, it creates a TCP connection. TCP again it's called Transmission Control Protocol. You're going to be learning it in your operating systems class. So this creates a transport connection between your backend and the front end, and then you can send in requests through this, and then you can receive a response to this. And then you have a lot of settings in this. You have one setting called Keep Alive, where connection is going to be left alive until you receive all of the requests and responses, and you forcefully bring it down or break it down. So I hope this is clear. Okay, fine. Yeah, so now we're going to be moving with the first order of our business, how not to write boilerplate code again and again. So if you have VS Code installed, you just do a code and then index.html to create a new HTML file, or you can simply create a file from clicking over here also. You click new file, enter the name, and the file is going to be created. Now the important thing is none of your completions are going to work properly in case you save it, right? So in this case, my completions are working because I have some plugins installed. It might not work in yours. So do a Control S. So this little dot over here, which was there earlier, tells you that your file is not saved. So yeah, moving ahead, I hope every one of you is comfortable using VS Code. So you have an HTML file, right? And it's important that your file is named HTML if you're writing HTML code. And then you simply do a bang. Bang is this not. And then you can simply do a tab. So bang plus tab. Bang, and then you click tab. So it's going to create a boilerplate code for you in your HTML. And then you can change the header, anything you want. And then now we're going to be learning about emit. I hope this spelling is right. Yeah. So, and a lot of you people are facing problems by commenting code also. So there's also a shortcut for that. Select all of your code and press Control and /. So Control plus /, commit. Press it again, uncomment, commit, uncomment. Right? We're going to be using this. So again, we're going to be talking about emit. I hope the spelling is right. Yeah. So what emit does is it does code completion for you, HTML tag completion, things like that. So I'm just going to give you a quick example. So let's say you want to create a form which has 3 input fields, and the class of those input fields is my input. So I have these 3 input fields, or let's say I have 10 input fields, and then I have a button, and the ID of the button should be submit. Let's see what happens when I press tab after this. So this automatically creates a form with 10 inputs as I specified, with the class my input, and then a button with the ID of submit. So I'm going to repeat it again. I'm going to show it to you again. I just wrote this syntax which you might find quite confusing right now, but let me assure you it's going to be very easy for you in the future. When you press tab, it's going to expand all of this. So this emit functionality is inbuilt into Visual Studio Code. You won't need to do anything. You just run your Visual Studio Code instance, create a .html file, and then you can go ahead with these completions. So then what is the syntax? So I did a form. Now if you do a form, you press a tab, it's automatically going to complete it for you. So this is applicable for all HTML tags. And then you can have a body also. It's applicable for all tags. Then you also have options. So if you do form, you can do a form get. So your method is get, or you can do a form post. Form post. So your action is method is post. And then if you want to have something inside your form, you do a this. So this is very easy to understand. Inside the form, then you do this. Now, what do you want inside your form? You want inputs and a button, right? So if you want input, just type INPUT, and then boom, you got input inside your form. Now I wrote IMP because it's a short form for input, and I got input inside the form. Now you can also perform multiplication actions. You can say, okay, not one input, I want to say 100 inputs. Boom, you just got 100 inputs. How cool is that? Right. So any doubts? I hope everyone is following. Yeah. So okay, so I want 3 inputs, and the thing is I don't want anything inside those inputs, but I want buttons and input to be at the same level. So when you're talking about forms, you have your form, inside you have inputs, and then you have a button, right? So they're at the same level. So we want that to happen. Then how do we do it? We say, okay, input into, let's say 5 inputs. And then if I want to do something at the same level, I do a plus, and then I say btn. Or you can say a btn also. So I say a btn, and then nothing, I just press a tab. Boom. Now, if you do a space and then you go back and then you press a tab again, it's not going to work because it predicts the text. The auto prediction in Visual Studio Code works as you are typing, right? So if you press space by mistake, go to line tab, press the last button again, do a tab, you got a button. Right. Now, what was that fancy thing I did where I had all of these fancy class names over here? So if I was a newbie Visual Studio Coder, I might use multiple cursor and I might say, okay, class equal to something. But I'm not a newbie Visual Studio Code user. So I'm going to do something smart. So this syntax dot means class and hash means ID. So remember these. This is very important. Dot means class, hash means ID, and this is going to be very important for you even as we move forward towards jQuery. So let's test that out, shall we? So I want input field with the class name of hunger. I never get my name right, hunger. And I want 10 such input fields. Let's see what happens. I got a class hunger. How cool is that, right? So I no longer have to do multiple courses, bullshit, and then I have, if I want to do a ID, I can say okay, input hash any ID that I want, my ID, and I can do into 100. I get 100 input fields with the ID my ID, and it's quite fast. So let's do it the right way, right? So you want to create a form. And let's set the class of the form as our form. And then inside that form, let us go one step ahead and let's say if I want to do form get, form colon get, with the class name my form, and then inside that form I want to have input fields, 2 input fields, each with the class my input, and then I want to have a button, btn or button, and then I want the button to have an ID of submit. So if I press tab, boom, I can simply say oh action yeah. Then whenever I press submit, it's going to go to this route and then with the method get. Right? So this is one thing that init allows us to do. You can explore other options also. So if you want to do a header, or if you want to do iframe, so you can explore these options in Visual Studio Code. So guys, any doubts till now? Do you want me to move slow, or if you want me to move fast? You can still you can tell me in the comment section. Okay, so I'm going to be moving ahead now. You got Emmet under your belt. Now let's go for our problem statement. So our problem statement was CC leaderboard, right? So this was our website. So let's see what happens when we reach this website using Postman. ccleaderboard.heroku.com. Now, whenever you're doing front-end development, just make sure that if you want to test out all of your API endpoints, just test them out using Postman first. So I can do a /repos, I'm getting the right data. I can do a top contributor, I'm getting the right data. I can do a /seed, which is going to take some time. So I'm getting the right data, and if I do a normal thing, I'll get a hello world. Right. So let's see what happens when we do a form submission of this. So we can do a form get, and inside the form we want nothing, we just want a button. And button submit. Right. And if you want to open this file, you can simply open it from Visual Studio Code. But since I don't remember the shortcut right now, I'm just gonna open this CC web and I'm gonna open it in my browser. So you got this little button, right? Oh, this is way too small. Yeah. So inspect element. If I go on console and I click this, sorry, if I go to network tab, yeah, and I click this, nothing happened right now. Okay. Now we're gonna go back, and then we're gonna try the jQuery layer. So we want to call this input, right? So instead of form submissions, what form submissions lack is that when you submit a form, you immediately get redirected to a new page, right? And since we didn't have a new page over here, or we didn't have something to handle this form submission, then it didn't do anything. So now comes jQuery and Ajax. jQuery. So first I'm going to be explaining you what Ajax is, then I'm going to be explaining to you what Jquery is. So let's go to the drawing board. Any doubts till now? Okay, no one has a doubt. Fine. So I'm going to chop this. No, actually I'm going to make this. Yeah. So let's say you have a front end and you have a back end, right? So what happens when you submit a form? So what happens is that you send your form submission over here, and then backend sends a response, and then front end changes its state. Right? Change of state after receiving. I'm bad with spellings. Okay. Now this is not the ideal way if you're working with REST APIs. So what we want to do is we want to make a request, and no matter what the response from the backend is, no matter what the response, we control the state. So we say when to change the page, we say when to do anything. So this we can control this by using Ajax. So Ajax stands for asynchronous JavaScript and XML. So async JS and XML. So you might have heard about XML HTTP or XHTR something, XTHR requests. So you send a Ajax request to the backend, and then you don't have to wait, or you don't have to change your state. So it's completely stateless. So let's see what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to take the help of Jquery. So Jquery is nothing. Jquery is just a library which acts as a wrapper around JavaScript. So it's like you have a lot of functions being made. You can just call those functions, and then you can get access to your DOM. So everyone knows what DOM is. Document Object Model. Yeah. So if you want to start working with Jquery, just do a Jquery CDN. CDN is a content delivery network. So we don't want to download the code, all of the code of Jquery for this particular tutorial. We just want to use the CDN, which is a way of saying that, okay, just not include the whole JavaScript of the Jquery, just include a script tag so you can fetch it online. So go to W3 Schools, and then you get a Google CDN over here, right? So this Google CDN is available. Now make sure you have this Google CDN in your head, right? So there's your Google CDN. Now I'm going to make a quick button, and I'm going to give it an ID submit. Okay. Sorry, my ID of submit. Yeah. And I'm going to say click continue. Now, one thing I want to get clarified right off the bat is that this is not a front-end designing tutorial. This is a functional front-end tutorial. So if you're thinking that, okay, why is Angad coding front-end so bad, or why isn't he writing the name of the button over here, or things like that, I'm just here to talk about functional parts of front-end. So now, what you want to do is you want something to happen when you click this. So let's see if you're getting a button or not. Yay, we got a button. So I'm just gonna have a quick script tag, and then I'm gonna say, using Jquery, I'm gonna say, okay, grab the ID submit, and then when I perform a click action on it, just alert that I click. Right. I'm gonna do a hard refresh on this. Click me, and wow, it said clicked, and no submission, nothing. The state didn't change. I'm still on the same page. Nothing happened. I clicked it. It just said click. Right. So what is this syntax? So you might not be familiar with this syntax. You might use JavaScript. So to extract documents, you do you do a explicit fetch on the documents, right? So document.get element by ID. So instead of doing that, I remember that I told you that hash is for IDs. So where is this? Hash means ID and dot means class. So we can apply those same principles on Jquery. So this dollar in Jquery is a Jquery object. So an object has these methods attached to them. So you can extract your DOM and then perform different functions on it, right? So I'm just going to say, okay, Jquery, fetch me a DOM element with the ID of submit. And if I do a dot submit, it's going to fetch me the element with the class of submit. So fetch me the ID, submit, and then on essentially means an event handler. So we can attach event handlers also, but in this case, we're gonna handle this click event. So whenever this click event happens, do some function, right? And then if you're used to ES5 or ECMAScript 5, you're used to this function keyword, right? So you might do something like this, or but since we're following around ES6, I'm going to use a standard ES6 arrow statement, and then let's see the whole thing. And yeah, so you might notice in some cases that why is this happening, that okay, I changed my code but it's not reflecting over here. Don't forget to do a refresh or a hard refresh, right? So you're getting this code now. I performed a refresh. So now let's get to the good bits, right? Let's start calling the API. So how do you call an API? If you look at the Postman request over here, so guys, tell me if I'm moving so far too fast or something that you're not understanding. Fine. So this is a get call, right? Get call to this URL, which yields me hello world. Now let's see if we can get the same hello world if we use Jquery APIs, right? And note that this server is not running on my system. This backend is not running on my system. This backend is hosted on here. So I didn't clone any code. I'm not running anything on my local server. I'm just calling an API online, right? Still work. Now let's do a $.get. So $.get simply says that okay, get me this, and then return me some data. So we go back. It tells Jquery that okay, do a get operation on this URL, or I can define my URL here also. Let URL equal to this. So hey Jquery, go on this URL and fetch me some data, and then simply alert that data. Right? Let's see what happens. I did a refresh. Click me. Hello world. Wow, how simple was that, right? So in just 2 lines of code, so I'm not counting the brackets over here. So in just 2 lines of code, I performed an API call, API get call to this URL, and I fetched the data from it, extracted the data from it. Right. So you have other methods attached also. You can do a $post on this, but since we don't have a post handler on /out, we have a get handler, so you can simply do this, right? Now, what about some more complex calls where you're not receiving simple hello world, but you're receiving some huge amount of jargon or some amount of JSON? So let's go to the leaderboard route. Yeah, so you get a JSON, and then if you look at the JSON clearly, JSON says, okay, status is 200, message is okay, and you have this payload which you might want to use in your application, right? So let's see how this works, right? So you do a /leaderboard. No need to change all of this code, and let's see. So you go to your index, perform click me, and then boom, you receive the word JSON, right? So I'm not going to be using alerts anymore. I'm going to be using console.log because it makes us easier to actually see the data. And if you Control-I, me. Okay, I need to refresh this page. Don't forget to refresh the page, guys. Click me, and I got this thing in the console. So yeah, so I told Jquery, okay, go to this URL /leaderboard, fetch me the data, and then just print it out to the console. And then I went to the browser, opened the developer options console, and I got all the data, right? Now, how to access this data? So you might feel that, okay, let's do a data.status, and then let's see what happens. Undefined. Now, why is that? So this is a major problem that a lot of front-end developers face. And then if you do it again, if you look at the request, right? So you get JSON. So status is a string, this is a number. All of your keys are strings, and all of your values are either strings, numbers, or anything you want them to be. But the main point is that all of the keys are strings, and this is a JSON format. But here in JavaScript, when you define an object, you say, okay, object is equal to, object is equal to some key and then some value, right? So here your keys are not strings. So if you want to define a JSON, you might do this, but here you need the data in this format. So you can simply say, okay, whenever I'm getting this data, let's JSON.parse that data, and then let's see what happens, right? So let JSON data is equal to JSON.parse whatever data I'm getting out of the API, and then let's drop that JSON data to the console. Form hard refresh, do a click me, boom. So rather than getting a string, you got a JSON, you got a JavaScript object console logged out. So you might notice that apart from the message that I sent, you also have other payloads, right? So this is all thanks to jQuery. It also attaches a lot of metadata and a lot of functions to your responses, so that you don't need to worry about writing a lot of JavaScript code yourself. So if I want to extract, let's say, I want to extract the payload, and the payload is just these key and valuables, right? So I'm going to extract the payload. Let's see what happens. I do a refresh, and boom, I got the leaderboard. Right. So in just these many lines of code, I said, okay, fetch the payload and then extract, fetch the data and then extract the payload from it. We did a get request on this URL, got the data, JSON passed it to a JavaScript object. So this data that we got was in JSON format. So from JSON format, we converted it to a JavaScript object, and then we can access the fields in that object. Now you might think, okay, I got it on the console. Now how do I append it? So your mind would immediately go to document.getElement by ID, but no, we're working with jQuery over here. So let's define a field over here called populate. Cool. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, jQuery, go to that populate field, populate, get me the populate, and then change its HTML to my data. Now let's see what happens. Click. Boom. Got the data in your in your div. You might think, okay, this data is way too dirty for me to deal with. In that case, what you can do is you can also do an append operation. So you can say for let I of JSON data dot payload. I'm looping through the payload, and then I'm simply doing okay, loop and get the populated, and then append my HTML on this. So I can say strong tag. Okay, I'm not a front-end developer, so let's see if this works out the way we want it to. And then I can say, okay, my bad. You can do this also. So this is another hack that might like a lot of you people might not be knowing, is that you can simply format your strings in the way like this. So this again is a backtick. Backtick and tilde are on the same key. So if you click the tilde key without using shift, you're going to be getting a backtick. And then to do a dollar and curly braces, you can just add your JSON JavaScript code over here. So you can say I and you done with it. Right. Now let's see what happens. But okay, yeah, sure. Hard refresh, click me, and I'm got error. JSON data.payload is not iterable. Why is that? Okay, so it's not an array. Fine. So our payload is not an array, so we can't iterate over this. So let's do some other call which we can iterate over. So let's do a slash repos or repos. Status, your payload here is a string, right? So instead of leaderboard, you just do repos, and then JSON parts your data, and then you just say payload. So just to console log it out and testing. Do a hard refresh on this, and wow, I got all of the data. Yeah, awesome. So if you look at the data closely, you have a field called name. Yes, you got a ref target, and inside the target, history, blah blah, edges, node, edition, author. So I want to print the name of this repo and the author of the commit. So let's see how we might do that. So I can simply do a I is looping over this payload. I can simply say I.name, and then I can do a PR tag, which I'm not sure we should do. And then I can say my paragraph tags. And then again, we use the backtick so we can format our string right over here only. So I.ref.target.history.edges, I.ref.target.history.edges, which is an array of 10, and I don't want to do a multiple over here, so I'm just going to do a 0 author name, 0 author name. So this thing depends on the data that we're working on. So I hope this works. And then name of undefined. So the way you debug this is whenever you get an error in the front end, you see the line number. So I got an error in line number 33. So which is obvious because this is the line that we changed. But debugging is also a good skill that you need to have. So .name can't fail over here. And if you want to test this out, if you want to see that, okay, what is failing, simply move this away. Cool. So I got the top 30 or so repos in my this thing, in just 4 or 5 lines of code. So again, if you look at the code, I said, okay, go to this URL and fetch me this data. This data is in the JSON format, then parse it to this JavaScript object, and then I'm console logging it just for kicks, and then loop through that data because again, this data is now a JSON object, JavaScript object. So loop through the JavaScript object, and then in my populate div, the div with the ID of populate, append this HTML. Right. So do you guys have any doubts till now, or anything else that you want to do? Okay. If you guys have any doubts, just drop them in the comment section. So this is quite a great way to debug. If you wanna debug an even easier way, where you don't have a lot of embedded structs, you can do a console.table also. But in this case, we have embedded structs. So let's do this one on leaderboard. You get a tabular format. So, okay, on the value, these are all the points. Okay, by the way, Akshat Gupta, congratulations on your great score. And whoa, Subra. Cool. Good job, guys. Keep it up. Yeah. And there is one more method with which you can achieve a lot more flexibility if you want. So rather than explicitly saying that, okay, $.get, you can do this thing also. You can do a $.ajax. The first query of $.ajax is the settings, and the second query is your result. So I'm just going to do console.log on the result, right? So look at the settings closely. So you got a lot of settings over here. So you can define your URL. Okay, my URL is supposed to be this. You can define your type. My type is great. And then you can define what happens when it succeeds. So you can say a success. And when it succeeds, you can simply do a data. And then upload that data. Right. So let's see what happens. So if you guys have any doubt related to Ajax or jQuery or front end in general, go to W3 Schools. This is a pretty good website. So just do jQuery Ajax. Right. So you're gonna have jQuery Ajax methods. You can see all of the methods that are over here. And okay, fine. See, so we corrected our error over here. So this doesn't take a second argument. Right. So a lot of the stuff that you might think is confusing, if you look up the docs, you won't face any problem with that. So it's actually quite self-explanatory. $.ajax takes an object and you can pass all of these fields. So I can say this URL type success, and then I can also do a failure method. On that on failure, what happens? I'm not going to do that now since it's not going to fail. We have that level of confidence on our APIs. So anything that might fail will fail in the front end only for the sake of this tutorial. And click me, and boom, we got all the data. So the benefit of using this approach instead of a $.get approach is that in future, if you want to change your get endpoint to, let's say, a put endpoint or a delete endpoint, then you'll have to change the logic. But here, you don't have to change the logic. You just have to change a simple variable. So this can be anything. This can be a post. And the problem with changing the logic is that if you look at $.get, it takes two fields, right? But if you do a $.post, so $.post takes a URL, the data, and it takes an additional field called the payload, which is the payload that you want to send to the backend. So typical post request might be something like this post, and then your data can be some JSON data, message, hi. So this is going to be a post request. But for the sake of this tutorial, all of our endpoints are get endpoints, so we don't need to do a post in this. And the thing is that all of these calls are asynchronous. So if I go back right over here, I paste this all over again, and just say, okay, let this be leaderboard, and then let URL2 is equal to the exact same thing, but make some changes to contributors. Or let's just seed. So a lot of you know that the seed endpoint takes a lot of time to complete, right? So let's see what happens. So here I'm defining URL2. Yeah. So, and for the sake of asynchronicity, let's just paste it above our Ajax over here. And let's see what happens. Me. Loading. Yeah. So our slash seed was defined over the slash leaderboard. But the thing is that our slash seed route takes a lot of time. So, which is not our fault, it's GitHub's fault anyways. So it takes a lot of time. And then this call is instant. So even though I defined this slash seed method over this method, both of these are asynchronous because again, asynchronous JavaScript and XML. So whichever call gets completed first, it gets console log, and then it doesn't have to wait for this call. So the faster call doesn't need to wait for the slow call to complete. So you can simply go wild and do anything you want. So while your cache is being seeded, you can append fields in your dips and any crazy thing that you want to do. So two more methods that I want to show you, which are going to be very useful for you. So okay, how do you want to approach? I can say okay, dollar commit.html. Yeah. So whenever the page loads, it clears the $HTML. So this method is quite necessary for you to learn, because whenever you're doing a dollar, wait, is it a, so whenever you're doing a dot append, so you want to make sure that all of the entries that were persisted before you calling this method are cleared. So whenever you load a document, you can simply clear all of the HTML out of it, and then you can proceed with the append method or something like that. And then, okay, so any doubts till now? How long is this? Is this been going on for? 45 minutes. Okay, so we have time for one more thing. So I'm just going to leave this code be, and you come up over here. So then I'm going to define a form, and then in the form I'm going to say, let's say, input 2, and okay, input 3 plus btn, and this is going to stop, right? And now I'm going to name this input type 1, and the input below this type 2. Type 1, and then type 2. Click first. Right. So input type 0 to text. Now I want to show you how to extract data. So I'm just going to quickly comment out all of this code. Cool. And then I'm just going to do a new fresh code, and I'm going to tell Jquery that okay, whenever the button or any document with the ID dots with the ID sub is clicked, simply console, or let's say type 1, simply extract the data and then console log that. So I want to extract the data which is inside this input field. Now if you look at this input field, the name and the ID is T1. So ID is everything we need to capture this input field, right? So I'm just going to tell Jquery that okay, fetch the document with the type 1 ID and give me its value, or give me its value. And you can do the same thing with T2. Okay, good T2, fetch me the T2 document and then get me its value. And I think it's this, maybe let's find out. So I'm just going to console log T1 and T2. Let's see what happens. Click me first. What happened? Nothing happened, right? Okay. So then it's dot value. And then if I want to check if this okay, it's not click, guys, it's click. My bad. So I can say alert click just to know if it's working or not. And then I think it's value only. And then clicked. Now what happened here, guys? So you might notice that okay, we got our Jquery right, but then instead of us console logging it out, the form actually got submitted. So this is a very major problem that a lot of front-end developers face when they are starting out. So the thing is that the event which you are capturing, you can also capture the event handler. So this event handler can say, okay, whenever I'm capturing this event, don't do this or don't do a form submission, right? So I can say that okay, whenever I click this, do an e.prevent default. Now if you look at the form over here, click, and then console is not function defined. Sorry guys, I got this new keyboard and then my fingers are all jumbling on it. Awesome. So we got the data. Now what is the difference? So if we comment this out, then what is going to happen is that our Jquery is going to capture this document and then it's going to handle the .click event. But the thing is, this form action also has a .click event attached to it. So, and by default, this has a greater priority than any other external third-party library that you might use. jQuery, be it anything, as yours or something like that. So, so it's going to say that, okay, I have my own event handler, which takes more priority. So by default, whenever you click this button, it's going to submit this form. But we don't want that, right? So we just said that, okay, whenever you click this form, you just prevent whatever default action that you have assigned to this document. Not necessarily a form, it can be any document. And then you prevent that action, and then you do the action that I told you to do. So to do this action, you say, okay, T1 and T2. Now, I want to send these T1 and T2, let's call them email and password, just for the sake of this. So, okay, I'm going to type it later. Yeah, so I just want to send this back to a backend for handling. So simply copy paste the code, which is half the thing that the developers do, and then change it, post, and then like take any URL you want, and then instead of data, you can say okay, data. You can have a T1 is equal to T1, T2 is equal to T2, or you can simply say T1 comma T2. So JavaScript automatically expands it to. Okay, so obviously this is going to fail because we're using the URL over here, but still we can see that okay, post request might go up. So to see the request, actually you can go to the network tab, or refresh, or reload, whatever. You can say email, password, and then what happens when you click the first? You get clicked. Jquery. Something wrong happened. I think it's because of this URL. Okay, so anyways, let's just click it now. Hi. Cool. So it's wrong with something is wrong with the URL. So guys, in this tutorial, we learned how to not to write the same repetitive HTML again and again and again, and what the power of emit holds, how many input fields you can you can do using this. So I tried it using 1 million or so input fields, and my computer crashed. So don't try doing that. And then we learned about jQuery, how jQuery helps us using doing asynchronous JavaScript and XML calls, AJAX calls, and then in AJAX calls we don't need to submit a form. We can stop that event by saying, okay, prevent this event from happening. E.prevent default over here. E.prevent default. And then we looked at our code, the code that was in our backend, and then we called it using a front end. We said, okay, do a $get operation on it. Whatever data you get, you're getting a JSON data back. Parse it to a JavaScript object, and then you can populate any field that you want from it. Right? So we've done that. And I hope you guys are great front end developers now. So anything else that you want me to teach you, or anything, just drop a message over here. We're going to take a 1 minute break and see if you guys have any doubts. And then after 1 minute, we're going to come back and then we're going to conclude. And after 1 minute, we're going to conclude with some exciting tips on course or crossover origin requests. So stay tuned. If you have any doubts, the dashboard is open. It's yours. And then you can type in anything you want. So guys, all of this code is going to be in the GitHub repo. So, and even this. So if you want to reference all this code, if you want to copy paste this code in your own code, it's fine. But you just need to know the basics and how it works. Syntax is not an issue. You can clearly see that. So normal asynchronous call or AJAX call in JavaScript is like about 20 lines, but with jQuery you can do it in 2 lines also. So again, jQuery is not a framework. jQuery is just a piece of code which acts as a wrapper around this thing. What do you call JavaScript? So if you look at the source code of jQuery, you can see that in the end it's JavaScript only. Akshat Gupta has it out. Okay. Left side of VS Code not seen. Okay, sorry, my bad. Yeah. Now, so how is it different if you use fetch for getting the data? I'm not sure, Navya. I've never used fetch, and I think fetch is only for get, as far as I know. You can't pass payloads in fetch. Correct me if I'm wrong. But if you do a $.ajax, then you can do any request you want. You can name your repeat request, you can do a code request, anything that you might want to do. And then, so, okay, someone is asking, is there any problem if method is post? I don't understand you. What is your exact doubt, Roma? Is there any problem with the method is post? So there's no problem with the method is post. You can simply go post. You can pass in your payload, your data, and then it's call a post route. But right now we can't call a post route because the example that we're using has all of the endpoints as get. So we don't have a post endpoint right now. If you have a URL which has a post endpoint and some data that we can pass it to, then you can drop in the URL in the comment section. Okay. So Navya, I hope that cleared your doubt, and we're going to be talking about chords now. So last topic of the day, chords. Yeah. So let's say you have a front end over there, and then you have a back end, and internally they're part of the same machine, right? Right. So you have a server running in your laptop, and you have a front end and your back end. So all of the calls that are going to be made from the front end to the back end are going to be to the URL localhost/something. So all you can see. Uh, yeah. So localhost/something, right? So the front end is sending the request to the backend using the same domain. They are both on the same domain. Backend might be on localhost port 5000. Front end might be on a server or might not be on a server. Might be a static file, and then it's calling localhost backend. So they are on the same domain, right? This is called a domain. So no worries, right? Now what happens when the server is running in some other domain? So let's say the server is on Heroku. My spelling, I'm not spelling. Yeah, Heroku. So what happens is when the front end tries to make a call to Heroku, it receives a console message called CORS header not allowed or method not allowed or something like that. So it gets a CORS error. So CORS means cross origin resource sharing. So the problem here is that your front end will be running on your local host and your backend is running on Heroku in a cloud somewhere. So you're trying to send a request from localhost to an external domain, different domain, right? And this request fails because obviously you can't trust each and every domain you're getting the requests from, right? So this request is bound to fail. So then, like when we were testing out our API, which was hosted on Heroku, why weren't we getting this error? Because we were handling codes in our backend. So if you look at the documentation around codes headers, you can simply see access control allow origin headers. So your backend can say, okay, that no matter where I receive the request from, you just make that request come alive. So in Node.js, you have this CORS module in CORS. So if you look at this module, it's very simple. You just npm install CORS and then wrap your app around, wrap the CORS around your application. Right? Simple as that. One line of code and you're done. So what CORS basically does is whatever response that your front end receives from the back end, it will have this CORS header associated with it. So the browser knows that okay, it's okay to send the request to this backend, and this backend has no problem with me sending the request to it. So keep that in mind that if you are facing such issues in which you are trying to send the AJAX request and in the console you're seeing okay, access control, allow origin header not specified. Just make sure that in the back end you have the course handled, and then in the front end you don't need to do anything extra. If the course is handled in the back end, then it's very simple. And course is just one line of code in no matter what language you choose. So if you look at course class, or if you look at course Django, anything like that, Stack Overflow is faster. And then you can simply say, okay, one line of code, and I'm done. So no matter where I'm receiving the request from, let it come through. I trust everything. This should not be the case. So ideally, when you're deploying something, just make sure when you're testing out something, just make sure you have codes enabled. But when your test is done and you're rolling it out into production, just make sure that you only accept requests from your own domain and not every domain. So I hope you understand what this error is all about. And if you have any more doubts, I'm just gonna keep the stream open for 1 or 2 more minutes. I think we've already gone over 1 hour. So if you guys have any doubt, just drop them in the section. And I'm here watching over you guys and watching over the comment section. I'm still not sure what Roma was talking about, but I think I hope her doubt is clear. So I hope this was an educational session for you guys. And so a lot of you guys, what you were trying to do was okay, you go to GitHub. Oh. Oh. So what you guys were doing is you were looking at this code and you were immediately forking it and then trying to run it on your local server, right? Which is fine if you want to do changes in your backend or something, but if you don't want to do any changes and if you just wanted to do front end calls or something like that, our API was hosted on Heroku. You could have easily done AJAX calls like these. You didn't even need to clone the project in your local machine. So I showed you a simple example of how you might append some code in a bad way in a div. And then what you can do is you can use libraries like Google Materialize or Bootstrap to kind of beautify the whole process. So let's say you receive a leaderboard, you can simply loop over the leaderboard, and then you can append it over here, and then you can also add CSS to this. You can also add styles to this. You can say, okay, style is equal to something, and it's going to end up just fine. Because in the end, you're appending HTML only. So instead of append, if you want to overwrite it, you can do HTML. HTML by default overwrites it. If you do an append adds the code from the end. With that, we're concluding the stream. I hope you guys learned a lot, and please drop a feedback when you're leaving the stream, and let us know if how we can improve upon this stream and all. So thank you guys for joining. I hope this was an educational session. If you have any doubts, you just ping me on anything. Ping me on Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, anything you want. So I'm just dropping in an email ID. So if you have any doubts, I never get my name right. Okay. Drop me a message on this email ID. Thank you, and may the force be with you.